If you want that inspirational, then turn your radios. Sit back, relax, catch the vibe, have fun tonight on the Four Corner Show. You gotta sit back, relax, catch the vibe, have fun tonight on the Four Corner Show. If you want that grown and inspirational, then turn your radio to the Four Corner Show. Hot and spicy topics, come enjoy the show. So let's get personal on the Four Corner Show. Relax, catch the vibe, have fun tonight on the Four Corner Show. You gotta sit back, relax, catch the vibe, have fun tonight on the Four Corner Show. If you want that inspirational, then turn your radios.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Happy
Hey.
Tuesday.
Happy
Yeah.
Tuesday, young
Thank
lady.
you guys for joining. Thank you for the youngness. Yeah, thank you. I'll take it. I'll take it. But thank you guys for joining us here on Four Corners with myself, along with Mark Walker. My name is Pepper, and Michael Upshaw. We welcome you guys. We are here twice a month, and you never know when we're going to pop up. Today is the day that we're popping up, and gotta ask, how was the weekend, Mark?
The weekend was fabulous. Had a great time with Will Downing. We were in Chicago. That's all I can say. It was a great weekend.
I know one weekend you're going to tell me, you know what? I hung out with Phil Collins.
Well, guess
I'm
what?
like,
I'm hanging
know
out.
you with Will.
I'm hanging out with Pepper right now. It don't get no better than that. I'm hanging out with Pepper and Mike Upshaw. See?
Oh man, it's a blessing to
That
hang
was
out
a
with
good
you.
segue. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Michael, how was your weekend?
My weekend was great. It was blessed. I sang at 2 services, and it was just a blessed Sunday. Be able to praise the Lord on Sunday, to be
Great,
alive,
great. Yes.
thanking God for allowing me to see another day. Even seeing this day, here with the great bassist, the bishop of the bass, Mark Walker, and the evangelist of the airwaves, Thomas.
I don't know how I got
Evangelist of
that
the-
evangelist of the airwaves. What?
So
Evangelist
how was your
of the
weekend?
airwaves.
How was your weekend, Pepper? How was your weekend?
My weekend was, I had an interesting weekend. I participated in USA Track and Field. I was the announcer for the event. I stepped out of the box, and so I announced the kids going on to Junior Olympics, and Junior Olympics will be in 2 weeks in Bryan College Station. So,
wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So of course I won't be there because I'll be on vacation. But yeah, I got to do that, and it was a great experience. And they texted me the other day and says, "Hey, would you be interested?" I surely would. Yeah,
That's
I love
great.
being on that mic telling people what to do. Yeah, love it. Sit down. Yes. Yeah, it was a good weekend. You know, I'm always open to try something new. If it doesn't kill me, I'm like, let me try it. Let's try it. You know, you want to experience.
Right.
I want to experience. I'll be trying to experience everything. So yeah, well, not everything.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, some of the things in life. But yeah.
That's great. That's great.
So we are here today because we have a gentleman, y'all. I don't know if y'all ready. Whew, let's see. What his name be? His name be Craig White. Do y'all know Craig White? I know it sounds like a common name, right? Do you know Craig White?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of course. Yes, of
Absolutely.
course.
How many Craig Whites do you know?
Just one.
Just one for me as well.
Let me see. How many Craig Whites do I know? I think I know at least 20 Craig Whites.
Really?
All in Texas?
Oh boy.
All in Texas, right?
She said 20.
I'm not saying nothing.
As Mark looks over to the side, like,
Yeah, okay.
okay.
That's all I
I
can
don't
say.
know
Yeah,
20.
okay.
Oh,
You had
wow.
a
I,
great
I
weekend.
plan to know 20 by the time I leave this earth. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
I'm
well,
I'm
can you
moving into
introduce the one that we know at least, the one that me and Mike know, because we only know
Right.
one,
Well,
and
she
he's
had
the guest
20.
today.
So
Can you
that
please
means
introduce him?
that'll be 21 for her after she.
Yeah,
I am about to introduce a gentleman who is has the ear of, you know, snails have really good ears, right? Because they hear everything. Don't snails, when you put the snail up to your ear? Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he has the ear of a, he might have the ear of a snail. I don't know. But he's been in this game for like 40 years plus. He's worked with the best of the best, Dixie Hummingbirds, Patti LaBelle, Gerald, Levert, Ziggy, Marley, Celine, Dion, Mtume, Reverend James Cleveland. The list goes on and on and on. So we are about to introduce the engineer named Craig White, the first Craig White that I know, and 21 are coming later on. But we'd like to introduce Craig White to Four
Craig White.
Corners. Hey, Craig.
Oh man,
Craig
hey,
White. Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome,
yo,
sir. Welcome.
Hello.
hey. Oh man, got applause and everything. Hello.
You got an applause.
I
You got
love
an
it.
applause.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. I didn't know how the introduction would go, but I do know. Well, no, I don't know 20
It went
words.
perfectly. You got them all in. There's more, but the ones that you got. You did.
Exactly.
No, there's too many. You can't. We don't. The show not long enough.
It shows not long
To
enough. So
list all of the people.
the important one is here today. So we welcome you
Yes.
to Four
That's
Corners,
right.
and we're glad that you're
Yes.
here.
Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Well,
Appreciate you.
Craig, I'm the guy. I'm your friend today. I think I may have told you that already on the pre-show.
You did. Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna be the nice guy, so this might be the only nice time of the show because some people have issues with certain things. They have
They got
ways of
agendas.
yeah
Yes.
agendas. Thank you so much. But no, Craig. On a serious note, the only Craig that I know, can you give us just a brief history of who you are, where you came from, the business, how you got into the business, just a little something. There's no wrong way of saying it, but I want you to
Right.
just kind of tell us a little about yourself.
I had a long career. It's pretty obvious, but getting started was as a child, believe it or not. I always was fascinated with sound and music. I mean, as a little boy, I'd be in the back seat of my parents' car and the radio would be on, and every song that came on, I knew it. Knew all of my father would turn around and say, "How you know all of these lyrics?" But you just learn them. But at the same time, I was fascinated with how things sound, the sonic quality of it, whether it was a bird in a tree or whether it was how somebody's voice sounded on a record or jet plane flying or you name it. If it was sound, I was fascinated with it. This is as 4, 5, 6, 7 year old kid. I started taking trumpet lessons in fourth grade. And so that's where the music thing began to come in. So I played trumpet all through school, orchestra, band, marching band for a year, and until I started playing football, then I couldn't do both. But I got into a thing where one day at a summer music camp, to make a real long story short, a fellow church member, classmate of mine, was a sax player, and I played trumpet. And he always, at lunchtime, we would go into the cafeteria and jam. And because I knew this old Hugh Masekela song called Grazing in the Grass, we could play it. I knew it. Everybody liked it. They loved it. Every day we would play this thing at lunch. Well, one day, unbeknownst to me, my friend Keith Harvest was in a band. I didn't know this. He brought his bandmates to the school. Long story short, again, they basically kidnapped me riding the bus home when I got off or attempted to get off at my stop. They said, "No, you coming to rehearsal with us." I was like, "Man, my mother's not gonna let me go. My mom is our manager. My mom's the manager of the group, and you just come on. You going to rehearsal." And that got me into the music business because of the interest and aptitude and whatever God placed in my little stupid head. I was able to do certain things. So that's basically how it happened. And then from there, played in bands for a lot of years, traveled up and down the road with a lot of top 40 bands, doing that Chitlin circuit, they used to call it, thing. And that then led me into going back to my interest in sound because I was always interested in sound. I would handle the sound equipment for the band. So we'd be on stage playing, and I'd be playing trumpet with my right hand and mixing this show with my left. And
Wow.
I kind of became a sort of known in the local circles for being able to do that. People still remind me of that to this day. So simultaneously, is that a word? No. Simultaneous to all of that, I was able to go and get my sound chops up. The aptitude was always there. I was always blessed with that, but I was able to really refine it and did a lot of hands-on time. I passed my 10,000 hour mark probably in college. That's
Okay.
how long I've been doing it. But anyway, so that led to that. We began to record rehearsals, we recorded shows, we recorded everything, and that allowed me again to have the hands-on ability to get the chops to be able to do sound and do recording and do everything else. And then
Okay.
went on from there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, went on
So
from there. So
so so tell me this, Craig. Was there anyone you looked up to? Uh, any engineers or anybody that in the industry you paid attention to that you kind of helped, not necessarily mimic, but kind of like tour page out of their book and how they worked, how they process things.
it's funny. There was a guy who's passed on a year or so ago who is like was two guys. There's three guys. Now that I think it's now you're triggering stuff. There's three guys that I looked up to. Didn't know why, but I knew I admired their work. One was Jeff Emmerich, who did all of the Beatles stuff. Did Sergeant Pepper. Did all of most of the big hits. He was one. Was fascinated by how they sounded early on while I'm still, even before high school when the Beatles were kicking, I'm listening to them and how is he getting these sounds? Second guy was Joe Tascia was the engineer at Sigma Sound, who recorded all the Gamble and Huff and even back prior to Gamble and Huff, all of the Frankie Avalon when it was Cameo Records, you name it, Joe did it. Joe was really the sonic architect of the sound of Philadelphia. We could talk more about that later. And the third guy is a gentleman named Al Schmidt. Al Schmidt, without me knowing who he was, probably had one of the bigger influences because my older brother was a jazz head. So he would always have jazz records, whether it's Dave Brubeck, Miles Davis, you name it. He had like Frank Sinatra and then Basie, all these guys. He had these records, and I'm listening to them, and it's printing on my brain. Well, the engineer for all of that is Al Schmidt. So those three guys really had most of the influence. And there's a fourth guy who is still active and still doing some things. Jimmy Douglas, they call him the Senator. Jimmy did a lot of the early Atlantic records. So Jimmy's done Aretha. He's done a whole bunch of folks, but he also did Live in Color, the rock band. I mean, he's done just a plethora. And now he's doing hip hop. He's done a lot of Jay-Z stuff, a lot of Beyonce stuff. So Jimmy came later. But the three guys that I mentioned earlier, Al Schmidt, Jeff Emmerich, and Joe Tascia were the ones that early on printed in the brain without me even knowing it, but just by absorbing all of that music, it sticks. That's the short
Okay.
answer.
Wow. Okay. I'll ask one more question and I'll turn you over to Pepper Thomas
Oh
herself.
Lord, okay, she's gonna beat me up.
Right. So if somebody wanted to hear the sound of what you've done as an engineer, what project or song would you say that's your sonic sound when it comes to engineering? Some people have a song. You have songs. Well, this is the personality of the mix. This is a Craig White's personality in the mix. Is there a specific song or we could go to, or it doesn't
There,
really matter?
there really isn't a specific song. I'll tell you why, or a specific artist for that matter. I'll tell you why. The engineer really, if you do your job right, you're really supposed to be kind of invisible to the process. Now sometimes you can listen to it. Now producers, another story. I mean, a Jam and Lewis record when you hear it. You know a Babyface and L.A. Reid record when you hear it. You know a Prince record when you hear it. But engineering, you have to go with where the song is, and you have to go with what the artist is trying to do and where the song is supposed to be. If you listen to some of the gospel stuff I've done, whether it's James Cleveland, Donnie McClurkin, whoever, Dorothy Norwood, record stayed #1 on the Billboard charts for a year. Those songs and those mixes have a certain quality. But then if you listen to some of the Labelle reunion album that I did, if you listen to some of the smooth jazz stuff I'm doing today with different people, and it's all different. You don't have a signature if you're doing what I think you should do in terms of engineering. So I never would point out and say, yeah, this one song is it. because they're all different. If there's any common denominator, is I try to get as much clarity and as much separation in the mixes. But outside of that, I could not tell you one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, has there been, in working with the artist, right? Have you ever worked with anyone and you went in to engineer the sound and you were like, "Oh, this is not good. How can I make them sound good?" Has that ever happened?
Uh, as of last week, maybe. Yeah. It happens all the time. It's part of the job that we do today.
Hmm.
There's more fixing than mixing. The
Mm.
fixing comes way before we
The
actually do
mix.
that paint that final picture.
Yeah.
So, and this has happened over the years as technology's gotten better. We're able to fix a lot more things. But even back in the day, we would do whatever we could to make the artist sound great, even if they didn't sound great. And so yes, the short answer is yes. There's a lot of stuff that I hear even up to today. People send me stuff to mix, and I listen,
Yeah.
and we spend a bunch of time fixing things up before we even get around to trying to finish the record.
Right. So, is there anyone in particular? Because I remember I had asked, I can't remember who the person was, but I asked them about an artist, Shanice, as a matter of fact. It was a
Mhm.
producer in, I think he's in Chicago or something, but he had worked with Shanice, Shanice Wilson, or
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
I love
That's
his
it.
pop.
That's her. Hmm.
So he had said that he had never worked with anyone with a perfect pitch. He didn't have to do much to it. It was just like she was just perfect. Like the majority of her things are just perfect. So there
Right.
is not an artist you work with that you don't have to do much to.
Yeah, there was one that comes to mind quickly, and I'm sure there've been others. But I was involved in with some other gentlemen doing a remix on a Celine Dion record, and
I
the
knew you were
name
going to
is
say Celine Dion.
yeah.
I knew that in my spirit.
When
I was like, he's going to
we
say
when we put that tape on the machine and the
Celine.
tape started rolling and we're listening, because with a remix, you're keeping the vocal but you're replacing a lot of other stuff. So we put the record up as it
Mhm.
existed. When that voice came over those speakers, it was like magnificence came out of her mouth. It was unbelievable.
Mm,
Her pitch is damn near perfect.
mm,
Diction perfect. And even with her, she's got a slight French Canadian accent. Even with that, the amount of emotion and the amount of clarity that she can put in her vocal and
mhm.
be killing it and be in tune and be in time, and it was unbelievable. And I'm sure they've been. I mean, Patti LaBelle is great. Now, don't get it wrong.
Mhm.
When Patti is not blazing your ears off and she's just
Yeah,
like flat out singing,
right,
Patty's
right.
a monster.
Yeah,
Pitch,
yeah,
pitch, control, the whole nine, and can do what she wants with her voice. It's unbelievable.
yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
And there's been others. I mean, but those two probably jump to mind if I think about more of them. Because there's been so many. That's when I do things like this. People always say, "Well, what is your favorite this? What is your favorite that?" It's so hard because there's been so many, and they're all different, and it's hard to say, "Well, this one is the one." But
Mhm.
those two kind of knock you over when you first
Yeah.
hear it.
So, what are you hearing when you're listening to music now? What is it that irks you about the sound or the way that
Oh,
people are engineering? What is it that people are doing that you're like, I'm cringing right now. I don't know why everybody trying to do that on their song.
well, we don't have enough time to talk about that.
Yeah, we
But
do.
but what I but what I will say, and I'll preface what I'm going to say. Every generation has their own music. Our
Mm-hmm.
generation had it.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, whatever you do, you need to do it at a level where it's A, professional, and B, where it's of quality. Everybody's an engineer these days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your,
Mm-hmm.
your little cousin 13, because he's got a laptop and some software, is a so-called engineer. So the
Yeah.
problem with that becomes you have a lot of people who are making a lot of recording and a lot of music who have no clue what they're doing, and they're just letting the software do stuff, and if the mic's
Mm-hmm.
distorted, it's okay, and whatever. And then by mistake, a couple people got a hit with subpar songs that are engineered and mixed. So now that becomes the sound. And it's
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
sound. It's just poor engineering and poor records. Now, everybody's like, "Oh man, you old head. You just got." No, there's a way you do this thing. If there's certain standards that I think you need to uphold. And so when I hear stuff now where bass drums sound like you beating on a cardboard box, and where vocals are overly processed and shrill and oversaturated, and we won't even talk about the auto tune, because that auto tune is just a gimmick. So we won't talk about that. But just basic engineering where people don't understand levels, distortion, signal flow, blah blah blah. That's the kind of stuff that irks me, and it doesn't have to be, but it's what you don't know that gets you in trouble every time. And a lot of these so-called engineers don't know certain things, and then they excuse it by, "Oh, man, that's the sound." No, that's not the sound. It's not the sound. So, yes, short answer again is a lot irks me about it. But again, it's, every generation has their music, and because certain things have begun to be what some people think is the standard, yeah, you get away with a lot of stuff.
So can you fix anything?
I can fix a lot. I
Can
can.
you fix anything?
Anything? No. I mean, there's some things it was garbage in, garbage out. But there's a lot of stuff you can fix. You can fix pitch. You can fix a certain level of distortion. You can fix if somebody doesn't know how to sing in time with the pocket. There's software that we have that does a tremendous amount of things.
Wow.
So that a lot can be fixed. But if you don't, you got to have a certain something you bring into the table as a singer, as a musician. You just can't come in sounding crazy and think that you press a button and you're going to sound miraculous. That's not going to happen. But if you come in with a little something, Mike's laughing because he's laughing because he knows. If you come in with a little something, we can help do the rest. And we can make it passable.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
you can't just come in sounding crazy and think that we're going to, it's just not going to happen. But there's a lot. That's kind of how the whole sound doctor thing came to be. A very dear friend and family, Deanna Williams. So I'm sure you all probably, most of you already
Oh,
know.
absolutely.
Deanna Williams, the mother of Black Music Month, and broadcaster and media maven and a whole bunch of things. Deanna is dear sister. We used to do a podcast back in the, must have been the 90s or maybe the early 2000s, where we would, wasn't called podcast then, it's now would be known as a podcast. Anyway, we would interview a lot, she would interview a lot of folk, and we would intersperse that. Whoa, we would intersperse that. Somebody's calling. Not me. We would
It ain't me.
we would intersperse that with a lot of music. So the way we would put the show together, it really sounded almost a produced podcast. And so she used to start calling me Dr. White. And I said, why you? Because he operates. So I kind of just ran with that. So Deanna Williams is really the reason why the sound doctor kind of morphed into that.
Okay. I'm about to put
So
the
yeah,
sound doctor on the side of your name. Let me see here.
no, don't do
Sound
that.
doctor.
I don't think you have enough room. And
Yes, I do.
and it's funny because people, they people appreciate it. I think. Um, no, Mrs. White, I gave you the right link. You got to go to the YouTube, John. That's an inside joke.
Oh, we already know. She's already been in.
She already been. I love my
She already
wife.
been in.
My wife Kirsten is the best. She's a photographer too.
Oh,
At
wow.
at
Okay.
Kirsten White Photo on Instagram, in case you want to check her out. But
Okay.
she's the best.
Plug, plug,
But
plug.
yeah, oh yeah, it's a shameless plug. But
Wow.
anyway, what were we talking about? Y'all don't let me get on a roll, cause we'll be all over the place. But my ADD kicks in.
You see your name?
I do. Look at that. I was trying to phase the sound doctor out, but it seems like it won't go away. So,
You told us about it. So when
and
you
I don't want to
open
be,
the door,
and you don't want to be presumptuous about it. It ain't really all about that. But I do take pride in making people sound as good as I can help make them sound. So,
yeah,
if I got
Right.
if I got to do a little healing, whatever, then that's what we do.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because I think it's important that I hearing is very underrated. I think
Oh, absolutely, no question
because I'll
about
be
it.
like, did you just hear that? Did
You
did
you sing, don't you,
you?
Pepper? You sing though, don't you? Aren't you
Yes.
a vocalist? That's what I thought you were a vocalist. Is that you doing the theme too?
No, everybody asked that. That is not me.
Okay, because it
You're,
sounds
you're
like
not
it
the
could
first
be
person.
you.
Yeah, everyone says, is that you? And I'm like, nope. She's out
Yeah.
of Dallas, Texas.
Okay,
Her
it
name is
sounds like it could be.
LePage.
She the bomb. Okay,
Yeah, I have to
but
let her know. I
Your
feel it.
hearing is very important. You must listen, and
Hmm.
if you want to be an engineer and or a producer, but more so an engineer, you must learn how to listen.
Yeah.
You got to listen for distortion. You got to listen for pure signal flow. You got to listen to make sure your levels are right. Your blah 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 blah. There's a whole thing you got to do. And if you just
Mm.
sitting there with the head nod vibing and you're not listening to what you're doing, then it's gonna come out sounding like a lot of these records sound.
Hmm.
You gotta. There's certain things you just gotta do, and then within that you do what the genre says. But you gotta listen first. So,
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
yep.
Well, Craig, again,
Hey,
man, we thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you here, the sound doctor. You know, I
yeah.
was waiting. I was waiting for this light to go dim in the room where Pepper is, and a spotlight come down on your head when she asked, "Can you fix anything?" And then she asked you again.
Let me get my ring light together. Hold on. Let me go ring light. Wait, wait, wait,
But
wait. I do even better. I do even better.
she sounded like a lawyer, or like you were.
There,
Yeah, like,
there,
yeah.
there it is.
Where were you on the night of the 12th?
Yeah.
There.
Oh,
Sound
that's
doctor.
funny. You are so funny.
But you work with so many artists. How was it working with Gerald Levert? Any
Man,
Levert, as a
listen.
matter of fact.
Let me tell you. Gerald Levert will walk in the studio, get behind the mic, eat the mic up, maybe do two takes, and you had what you needed. And I recorded him on
Wow.
a few occasions. Unfortunately, I think I may have also done Gerald's last session, but that's enough. Well, I'll tell that story
Oh,
real quick.
really?
There's a gospel artist, Jeff Majors, who you probably may
Oh,
have heard
yeah.
of, the harpist. Jeff and I did several albums with Jeff, and Jeff and Gerald were very close.
Hmm.
And Jeff had a studio in his home down in Maryland, so I went down. We did a session with Gerald, and he had just come back from a tour, and I want to say it was from South Africa, but I'm not sure. Anyway, he had this really heavy head and chest congestion, cold going on. He was saying, "Man, I caught something on the plane, whatever, blah blah blah." That boy got behind that mic and ate that mic up. You would never
Wow.
know that he was even sick. But unfortunately, about a week, 10 days later, he passed.
Oh,
So,
Lord.
and I think as a result of complications from that, and as I recall, he was, had some complications, breathing issues, and blah blah
Oh,
whatever.
wow.
But yeah, so and I don't know that, so he may have done some other work after that. But because of the time frame, Jeff and I both think that maybe that was probably the last session that he did. But I did a couple other sessions with him up at Philly International. Same thing. He can get
Hmm.
behind the mic and tear it up. You be like, man, this is not
Wow.
happening. Like just killing it, like his father.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
also
yeah.
who I've also recorded, who get behind the mic and tear it up, and you know
Yes.
that thing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely was genetic.
And you mentioned something about, you said two takes. Now, I sing, and we're in studio, and I've been in some sessions where you've had people come in and do a lead. They do one take, two take, three,
Hmm.
four, five. So, without mentioning any names, what is the most you've seen a person come in and do? Like, how many takes? And just maybe just had a bad day, or
I don't think I can count that high.
Mm.
You, I there's several things that all engineers like and don't like. I am not a fan anymore of recording vocals for that reason.
really?
Oh
Wow.
man, and this is with I've worked with singers who can sing the lights out, but in their head they think they need one more take. Or that let me fix that
Mm.
riff. Let me do that again. Let me do it again. That do it again thing will drive you crazy. And so I don't do a lot of vocal sessions now unless I know the singer is good and has a certain work habit and has a lot of insight into how not get in their own way. But
Mhm.
I've done a lot of takes with a lot of people. There are some projects I've turned over to assistants and let them continue to engineer the vocals because I can't take it.
Can't do it.
I
Wow.
literally, my ADD kicks in. I literally get antsy and I cannot sit. I can't. It's too much. So yeah,
Right.
there's been a lot of sessions where it becomes tedious. And the thing that singers don't realize is because you feel a certain way, that's not what we're hearing. So
Mm.
Right.
you know, inside baseball tip for vocalists: listen to the people on the other side of the glass. They're not going to steer you
Mm,
wrong. If you sound good, they're going to tell you sound good. We don't really care what you think,
right.
because you have no objectivity and no perspective as to what you're doing. We hear it, we know what it is, and if we tell you, yo, that take was blazing, we don't need to do one more
Mhm.
take because all it's going to be is different. It's not going to
Right.
be better, and so it's
Right.
important to know where to cut it off.
Right.
Wow. If
If
I may
you,
ask one more question, Craig,
mm,
because you're on this subject right now.
Right.
Um, would you say because of those situations, and I'm speaking from trying to speak from a positive point of view, that because engineers are doing that, you're almost like the unsolicited producer for that session because you're going back and you know what's going to really mix and mesh well, as I should say. Does that now tie into the sessions you accept and don't accept?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. The answer to the first part is yes, it does. We do, the jobs do overlap a lot now. When you go in and you're just supposed to be the guy that handles the signal and get the levels and make sure it stays clean and everything, and the producer, is supposed to do everything else. A lot of these artists don't have producers, and they depend on the engineer, which in my case would be me. And because a lot of people know my ability to listen and do things, they'll say, well, okay, well, man, help guide me through it. Now, I could turn around and say, oh, well, wait a minute now, listen, we got to stop talking about this because I might, I'm producing now. We got to talk business. It ain't about all that. I mean, if I'm engineering your session and if you're a good client and I like you and I care about you, I'm going to help you get it through. And, that's so it's not always a business discussion. But yes, the jobs are overlapping more and more because a lot of these newer artists or who are trying to, produce themselves don't really have anybody to do it. So I help where I can. I mean, I think it's about
mm,
giving back. I'm at where I'm at in my career because people help me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So wherever I can help someone, I try to go back and help and, take a little weight off you if I can. Now, if you get ridiculous, then we got to have that business discussion. But, it's, most of the time, I will help people and really help them do what they're supposed to do. And we don't have to talk about, well, who engineered, who produced, who did this, who did that. You know, there's been a couple projects I've done where after the fact, because I did so much production type stuff, I was given a
mm,
co-producer credit, and so that's
mm,
cool. And I appreciate that when that happens.
mm.
But yes, there is a lot of overlap.
If you had pick one female vocalist and one male vocalist that you haven't worked with, in your career, who would they be? Who would you
That
like
I haven't worked with?
that you haven't worked with?
Oh man. See, that's a tough one too, because there's a lot of female vocalists I love. There's a lot.
Mm,
I mean, whether it's J Hud or whether it's Lettucey or whether it's Gene Baylor out of Philly here. I mean, there's so
right.
many.
Mm,
Male vocalists, the brother Luke James, who's on The Shy,
Mhm. Love him. Mhm.
that
mm,
He
boy
can sing.
is the truth. And I've met him. He came and toured our studio once and met him. He's a real
mm,
nice dude. Uh, I could see working with him would be fun because he's, of course, Jamie Foxx can sing his face off, doesn't get enough credit, but that boy, of course, you know.
Agree.
So
yeah.
there's people like that. There's just so many. I mean, there's so many people who, if I had a chance to work with them, I certainly would.
Gotcha. We've gone through like I'm not sure if it's the correct number, but we've gone through these periods of sound recording. Beginning like with the acoustic age,
Uh huh.
and then we went into the electrical and then the magnetic area, and then I think around like 1979 we went into the digital era, and I think the first actual recording that was done was a guy named Rye Quarters. I think his name is
Rye Cooter.
uh,
Yeah.
Rye Cooters. Yeah,
Yeah. Country artist. Yeah.
Yeah, Bop Till
Yeah.
You Drop. He was a session guitarist with the Rolling Stones as well.
Uh huh.
So now we're in like the doll age and in that period, but now it seems like AI is starting to. There's a bunch of things happening with AI, and I just happened to even see today. We're not promoting anybody's products now, and if can't mention these products,
That's right.
not unless you want to send us some money, and we'll promote it.
We'll
But
endorse you. Yes.
Oh yeah, will absolutely. But I saw this new thing that AI has created where they're actually sitting down. So a person could actually do some beats with his hand or their hands or whatever the case is, and it actually create the drums, and then they can actually sing. Now it will actually record that, put the bass lines down for you, all your chords, and it's all AI. So now is AI taking? Are we in threat, or people like yourself, or musicians like Mark and Pepper who plays piano, if she wants to record or whatever? I mean, is everybody? Should we be afraid?
AI is the devil, and it needs to die as soon as it can die. Of course, now that the genie's out of the bottle, it won't. AI, if they don't get a handle on it, and if we don't heavily regulate it and heavily make it readily identifiable if something is done with AI as opposed to not, et cetera, et cetera, a lot of musicians and talented people who have studied and learned and honed their craft and whatever are going to be out of business. Plain and simple. AI should have never been allowed to come out. Now, there are a lot of digital tools that we use, software and plugins, etc., that use form of AI, and you'll hear this term machine learning a lot because they try to sanitize AI by making it acceptable by calling it machine learning. And there's a difference between pure AI and machine learning, but I digress on that. We've got to preserve the human element. There's just no way that it's going to happen any other way. That we gotta that thing's got to be regulated. It's got to be heavily regulated. It's got to be controlled. If something is generated with AI, it has to be clearly marked, clearly identified. It's all of that. It's bad. AI is not good, and we're already seeing the effects of how they can take, whether it's Barack Obama or whomever, and make some video and making like he's saying something that's crazy that he clearly did not say, but it's enough of a voice print where they can make it be, realistic. We got to curb it. That's about all I can tell you. I don't think that any of that should be allowed in the mass market. But of course, like I say, now the genie's out of the bottle. How do you do it? And basically, that's all a pattern in entertainment. The powers that be are always going to try to figure out a way to keep all the money. That's just what they do. That's what they do. And that's the name of the game. And people say, oh, that's just business. And okay, right. It's business, but y'all got to be fair with this money. So whether we're talking about AI generated stuff that's for sale, whether we're talking about streaming royalties, which are a joke, whether we're talking about any of that stuff, the human element has to stay, and the human element has to dictate what happens. There's no reason why somebody can have 20 million streams and make $10,000. You talk to all you want, nobody will convince me otherwise. So I say all that to say technology is great, AI is great, it's a tool to help, but I know several mastering engineers that now have problems because they got a couple mastering software programs that you can send your stuff off to Lander and a couple of others, which are a joke. That stuff sounds like crap when it comes to it. And y'all can sue me, I don't care. But in my professional opinion, I wouldn't let anybody do any AI mastering on anything I do.
Right. Pepper, we'll turn it over to you.
Did we lose
her?
Did we lose her? Well, I can ask you a question then, since she's shocked. And I'm speaking from the point of view of progressing with how we recorded. For me, it was auto-tune. I thought we went wrong there.
Yep.
I don't think auto-tune should have been used as much as it was, because you could take people who couldn't sing, put them in the studio, and because they had the look of an entertainer, they were the better looking person versus the person who didn't have the body or the look, who was the actual better singer.
Yep.
We chose the one that looked the part. We use auto-tune, not just in the studio, but even live.
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Did we turn this monster into ourselves? Did we turn the monster onto ourselves? Because, when you play stuff back, like when people hear the Super Bowl concerts or whatever they hear live, they're like, oh my God, they really had a bad night. Or every time I hear them, they're having a bad night. It's like, no, this is how they really sound. They're
Well,
not,
you
you know,
know,
they really have the talent. And so I go back to, and I'm not defending AI, but it was always heading this direction for the fact we use auto tune so much,
hmm
with so many singers, so many people who was presenting themselves to be this person. And long story short, it was uncalled for.
it was. But again, I don't mind a tool being used to enhance what may or may not be there. But to your point, if you just coming in with garbage and somebody can put you in tune perfectly without you bringing anything to the table, that's not good. You know, it's just not good. So I think that, auto tune, I use a program called Melodyne, which is wonderful, but Melodyne does not do it automatically. The human element in fixing stuff with Melodyne is me. It's my creative judgment, my ear, my ability to know how a singer should sound and keep that thing natural so that what they're bringing just gets enhanced. But as we said earlier, you just can't come in and sound like garbage and think that Melodyne, auto tune, or anything else is going to make you happen, because it's not. So I think that we bought it on ourselves because, in terms of the industry, they loved auto tune. Anybody who would come in and sound like T-Pain or any singer that, like you said, that had the look, had the body, but couldn't sing out of a paper bag, auto tune helped get them to a point where at least they were presentable, because that's an artist that you can pay less. That's an artist that their royalty structure will be lower. You may not give them any advance at all. So they always figure out a way to keep the money. So, we always have to be on guard to make sure that they don't keep all the money. You muted, Mark. Everybody's muted.
I didn't mute him.
Yeah,
I can't believe you said that.
it
The
was.
sound doctor.
Listen, I saw the little slash in the mic. He's still muted.
So you,
He's because he muted himself. See that? Okay, so let's go back over here. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
If someone were to say, "Hey, what should I invest in, and how much money would I need to invest in if I want to be an engineer?" So, what's the first thing that you would suggest for them to purchase? And does it have to be the most expensive thing? Can it be something as simple as not a DAT machine, but I don't know. Yeah. So, what would you suggest, and what would you tell them if they wanted to be an engineer? What's the first thing that they need to purchase?
They need to purchase some books and do some reading. There's several engineering books on the market. The art of recording, sound recording for musicians. There's several, a plethora of titles. Before you touch anything, get that book and read it and understand the flow, the methodology, why we do what we do, how it should be done, what to look for, whatever. And a lot of people say, "Well, I don't like reading. I just want to do." Yeah, well, y'all the ones making these crappy records, because all you'll do is open up the software and start touching stuff without knowing what you're doing. Study, learn your craft. So the first thing you purchase is something that can help you learn your craft before you buy any computer, any software, any whatever. My advice: read the book. Learn how to do and learn the theory behind it, learn the practice, learn the history of it, learn how and why microphones work the way they work, how signal works the way it works, all of that. Then once you have an understanding of that, then you can pick the software of your choice and begin to experiment. The hands-on thing is big. I totally learned hands-on and reading manuals. There was no engineering schools when I started. At least none in our area. There might have been one out in the Midwest, and then later on there were a couple in New York and whatever. But it was all hands-on and experience and learning and doing, but you had to have a basis of understanding of how it goes. Only way you can do that is studies. It's like, it's just like learning history. If you want to know history, you got to study. You want to learn engineering, you got to study.
Okay.
So I'm hardcore with that. And people are, man, I ain't got to do all that. Actually, you really do have to do all that. Because if you don't, you're going to be making some funny sounding records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, y'all had me thinking Pepper was just going to beat me up.
I told you who you gonna believe. You said you want to leave your boy.
I must apologize. I must.
Correct.
Apologies
She's
to
setting
Well,
us up, man. Correct. She's setting us up.
Is that what's
Don't
coming? She
believe
said.
it. Yeah, she's setting us up. The show ain't over yet.
So
I'm sure
I
there's one more question from her. There's got to be
okay.
one more.
I was getting
I'm
ready to say
good.
the same thing. There's a few minutes left.
There's a few
Okay.
minutes left. I know she got one more. Come on, let's see it, Pepper. Come on.
Don't
Don't disappoint.
believe.
Don't disappoint your boy. Don't
Don't
disappoint your
believe.
boy. Come on now.
Don't believe. Don't believe. Don't believe.
Well, Craig, I want to
Oh,
thank you again, man, for giving the information. That was some good information as far as uh, still learning that this sound engineering thing still needs to be. You still need to like learn. You just can't
Yeah.
stop just on the job training. Read some books, get some information, like you said, and also study other people.
You
Study
have
what
to.
makes the record the record. What's kept
Absolutely.
people in the business for so long. Because for me, it was always about not just listening to as a musician, listen to the records, but listen why these studio musicians stayed around for so long, the creativity, how they approach different things
Absolutely.
versus just playing, So, no, I thank you for that.
Yeah, you gotta know your craft. You gotta study your craft. You gotta improve your craft. If you want to do this for a living, now if you just somebody want to make a couple little hip hop records and throw it out there and make a couple dollars, then you don't have to do any of that. But if you really
Right.
want to be an engineer and have a career and make it a life choice, then you got to put the work in. You just do. There's just no substitute for it.
Now, are you available? Like, if they're like students or young kids that would like to learn this craft, would they be able to contact you, right? Or are
They
you open
yeah.
to doing that?
It's people ask me that a lot, and I'm almost some folk are on me every day. I won't mention any names, but my wife is on me every day about doing more stuff like this.
She
But
won't say anything.
she says you need to be posting and doing lives every day about what you know. And right, but she's not right, because if you notice, if you go on the internet and you start looking at all these so-called engineers, you got a lot of guys out there that just running their mouth, have no clue what they're talking about. I don't want to be that guy. So if I can figure out a
Right.
way
Right.
to structure some kind of thing where I can do it in a way that makes sense and that is helpful, fine, and hopefully I have enough reputation left that people know, okay, well, this is a serious guy and he's not just on here running his mouth, because a lot of people on there running their mouth saying stupid stuff about what they think sound or engineering is, and you can tell they've been engineering like maybe a year. Based on what they say. So I don't
Right.
want to be that. I don't want to be that guy. So short answer is, if you want to contact me, yes, they can hit me up on Instagram or whatever. I don't have a website up yet. Shows you how advanced I am. I don't have a website up yet.
Well, it's
My
been 40
wife,
years, so
my
don't
wife
think
has
about
been getting on
it.
me about it.
It's been 40 years. Don't think about it now. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Hey.
Well, I really should have some kind of website up, because it's people can reach me through Facebook, they can reach me through Instagram and all that. Now, I mean, I'm there and whatever, but you know, if you're going to be so-called professional like me, you really should have a website up. So I got one in development, but it's not happening. They ain't up yet. I'm too busy working, man. I'm too busy mixing these records. I mean, I don't have time to be. Unfortunately, in this business now, it's jack of all trades. You got to have your own. You got to be your own web guy. You got to be your own social media director. You got to mix the records. You got to do. You got to do all these things. So I haven't had a chance to really sit down and come up with a landing page yet, but I will. I'll get to it.
Okay.
So what is your like, have you ever done a project and you've been in the studio for 48 hours without sleep does your body require rest in order for you to hear? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely makes sense. Great question. I've been in the studio as many as 36 hours straight, unassisted by drugs, because I don't do the drug thing. Now, there's a lot of people who tell you, I was in the studio, no sleep for a week. Yeah, but it's because you was putting stuff up your nose. But I never did any of that. So, I would go ahead and I've done a day and a half straight, because it was fun. Back when you're younger, you can do stuff like that. I mean, the sessions are happening, the vibe is there, you're getting good stuff, and everybody gets hype, and you just don't want to stop. But I've done very long sessions, but I won't do it now, because I've learned the value, as you say, of rest. You must rest your body and your ears. You got to eat right, you got to hydrate, you got to do all these things, because when you don't, and the thing you also learn is, and as I get older, I learn it more, you got to take ear breaks. And you got to listen at a level that's reasonable. Cats be in the studio, speakers be on 12. and they swear the mix is kicking till you turn it down and it sounds like peas in a can rattling because it's just not good. So you gotta rest. You gotta rest your ears because it affects your judgment. How your body feels affects how you hear. So you gotta rest. You gotta get rest. You gotta take frequent ear breaks, especially when you're mixing. Tracking, not so much. You can track and go a few hours on end without taking a break. But with mixing, you must rest your ears. Because you'll come back and hear it all together different. You'll be thinking, oh man, it's getting close now. I'm going to take a little break. You come back, you be like, what the heck? What were we doing? But it's true. But yeah, now that we're at the point now where we know we got to take breaks and we got to rest and we got to do all that.
Yeah. So what's your regimen? You have a regimen? You have a thing that you do to prepare, or do you just get out of the bed and go, let's do this session? Do you say, okay,
you know what?
So-and-so's
I'm not.
Coming in and
I'm not that guy. I'm not jump out of the bed and immediately go to work. I got to ramp in slow. Got to have my coffee. Got to have a little breakfast. You check the email, check the whatever. Midday I start easing into work mode. I've never liked doing early sessions. I mean, back in the day at Philly International, guys we were calling string sessions at 10 a.m. Because the guys in the orchestra that were doing the sessions had to get out of there because they had to go play with the Philadelphia Orchestra or whatever. So we'd be doing string sessions at 10 a.m. And that used to kill me.
That's
I hated it. Bro, you don't even know. I hated it.
That's a lot.
10 a.m. cutting strings, and we would set up the night before because if you didn't have mics and all that set up and the chairs out and the stands out and all of that, there's no way you'd have to come in 7:30 in the morning to do a 10 a.m. session, and I wasn't doing that, so I would set up the night before. But I'm not an early guy. My regimen is basically ease into the day, and as the body feels and the ears feel like they're awake. Because I do mostly mixing now. I do tracking when it's necessary, but because so many people have home studios, I get a lot of mix work as opposed to recording. Because nobody's really using the big studio to do a lot of recording unless they're guys that have budgets like that. And I still do a fair amount, but mostly mixing. So, I ease into the day. When I'm ready to get started, I get started. When I'm ready to stop, I stop.
So I'm assuming that you had that opportunity to work with Don Ronaldo, Vince Montana.
No, I did one session where Don conducted when I first got down there. Vince was already out. I didn't do any of the early stuff. I didn't get to Gambles until 93. Now, having said that, I worked with most of the roster, and a lot of the studio musicians were still there. But we had stopped using, Don Ronaldo and Vince and those guys. Had a couple chances to cut Zach, the saxophone player, a couple times and whatever. I did a lot of work with Dexter Wanzel, who was a genius.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Dexter is that dude. So had a lot of chance to do work with him, and he then did a lot of arranging for people still. So he would conduct string sessions, and we would do that stuff. But
yeah, I remember as a kid, Zach coming to our house, and he and my father, they would sit around and have a big pot of spaghetti on the table, and this guy was hilarious.
Oh man,
Zach really had so many jokes.
He's a sweetheart guy, man. Zach was really cool. We met him a couple times. He was really,
Yeah.
He was different. All of those old guys, man. There was a thing that I guess, Mark, you probably know better because you're still actively playing, so you could tell me. But I mean, there's a different camaraderie among musicians back then as opposed to now. Although some cliques of musicians are really like the old cats. I mean, so you probably would know better than me, but I know it just seems like it's more disjointed now. The community and the camaraderie among the musicians doesn't seem to be the same to me, but I could be wrong because I'm not in the middle of that. So,
well, I think a lot of it is you have some guys just filling their calendar up.
Yep.
Where they just want to work. It doesn't matter who they're working with. They just want to fill their calendar up so they can feel like they're busy, they're making the money. For some, it's feeling like they're professional because they're doing everything full time. But back then, it was more of building a relationship with a group of guys, not necessarily filling the calendar up, but just getting to know guys because, you play better when you know the people you're around. You feel you trust the guys you're with. And so, and I think at times when I do talk to the few young musicians that want to hear from me, music is still a spiritual experience.
Yep.
And if you can't have beef among the people you're working with and think it's going to be a beautiful outcome. It's still designed to change the atmosphere, whether it's, you're making songs to make a couple fall in love, or even in church, or bring people together to worship, or just good dance music. It still has to be some form of connection with the singers and the musicians that's making this music. And I think that element and that knowledge has been kind of like pushed aside, where I know guys who didn't like each other, but they were just working so much together. They just it was take the money and run situation. So there really is no loyalty among each other. There's no really caring about if the person's family is doing well. It's just, hey man, I'll see you at the gig next week. We're gigging 3 times this week. So that's the mentality of it's changed. So of course, music changed.
Yep. That's definitely the feeling I get. I get that feeling, and just from, calling guys up asking, are they available for sessions or doing whatever, it's like, yo, I got this session at 1, but I can make yours, but I got to be out by 6 because I got church rehearsal. But no, that's okay. We ain't doing all that.
And you know what? And I don't want to say it's just, it's I guess it's, it's viewed, and actually we see it more now, but it's always been around. It's just now we see more of it. It's always been there because it separated the good from the great. Because back then, when you hear the greats talking, they talked about more or less the family and the personal lives versus the music. Because music became secondary to them. They could play, anybody could play and sing, but being connected from that point of view of, I worry about my brother or worry about my sister who's struggling with, some type of addiction or something like that was important, where everybody kind of gathered around. But now it's like, hey man, this guy got addiction. We need to find somebody to replace him in that chair. So they don't mess the gig up, so I think that's what, and it just, like I said, it's always been around, but we see more of it now. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, it's definitely the feeling I get, from just interacting with cats on a daily basis. Just like, yo, man, these cats are the business has always been competitive, translated backstabbing, but it's worse now. It's really, it's bad now.
Yeah.
It's bad, and it's not among musicians. It's among, other folk, business people, whatever. Everybody's trying to get that little crumb, and so you could be next. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's something.
Yeah.
I never worry about that because I work with Mike and Pepper Thomas. Mike Upshaw, Pepper Thomas. So no matter what anybody does anything, I work with Mike and Pepper Thomas, so don't get no better than that.
That's it, man. People of integrity. That's right.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh man.
Yes.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro.
Yes. Thank you, Craig White.
Thank you, Craig. Craig, man. Thank you so much, Craig. Seriously.
Thank you, man. This was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it.
It was good.
So
I'm glad you did.
We gotta have you back.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, anytime, man. Anytime. I run my mouth, anytime you need me. It's no problem.
Yes, sir.
Well, everyone, we thank you guys for joining us right here on Four Corners with myself, along with Michael Upshaw and Mark A. Walker, and our guest today, Craig White, the Sound Doctor.
The Sound
and,
Doctor.
Give your wife's information again, because I want to go to her site. What is her site again?
She's on Instagram. Is at Kirsten, KIRSTEN White Photo.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
follow her.
She's the best.
Yes, thank you, Kirsten, for coming in. And I was like, who's this lady? I said, somebody's in the thing. I said, did anybody invite Kirsten in? And Mike says, nope, no. And I'm like, well,
I actually did mistakenly. I sent her the wrong link at first, and then I immediately sent the YouTube one, but I'm not sure she saw that one. So,
well, she says, this is Craig's wife. I was like, she said, did he give me the wrong one? I said, yeah.
Sorry, babe.
The right one. I was like, here it is. She's like, okay, thank you. So
sorry, sweetheart.
Hey, Craig, one last question, man. Has Kirsten ever helped? Has your wife ever helped you with a mix, telling you she liked it or she didn't like it?
Man, all the time. Listen, she, I have the studio here at home, and she actually has a studio where she shoots that she has, but she does a lot of her editing here at the house. So she's in the house while I'm mixing things. And she will tell me, and I depend on her ear, because she sings, although she tries to admit that she doesn't. She sings well. And she also had, she's closet singer, but she sings. I've caught her a couple times. She didn't think I was listening. She's got a great voice, but she listens to all kinds of music. She can tell you from hip hop back to old church spirituals up to whatever's going on today. She actually knows more music than I do, contemporary music, because I don't, I'm so busy mixing, I don't know what's on the radio, and most of the time don't care. But she knows everything, so she'll listen and say, I really like that, or that's, or what's going on with that part, and I depend on her ear because she's got the ear of the consumer. And also she's got musical background, but she listens like people listen to stuff. So yeah, if she makes a comment, I'm listening. Always.
Great.
Yeah, man. Yep.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And she says, your wife says, great episode. Thank you for joining us, Kirsten.
All right.
Thank you so much, Kirsten.
Hey, I know that girl. There she is.
So, Michael, let them know who's coming up in August.
Well, again, we want to thank you, Craig, for coming in. That's the Sound Doctor. And in August, we're going August 13th. If you were a fan of watching the Arsenio Hall show, then you would recognize this lady. Her name is Star Parodi. She's the MD and keyboardist for Arsenio Hall for a lot of years.
Love her.
So she's kind of Grammy Award winning artist and composer. So she'll be here August 13th. And then on August 30th, we have a good friend from Philadelphia's own Dr. Austin Woodland. He's a producer, keyboardist, and now he's the MD for the GMWA this year.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Austin. I mean, I did a bunch of stuff with that organization, mixed working with Savoy Records with Milton Bigham. We did a few GM and gospel music workshop albums.
Oh, wow.
So that probably before he left Savoy, we probably did 2-3 at least. So
yeah, awesome. And
go ahead, Austin. All right, congratulations.
Phenomenal keyboardist and musician.
He is.
Yes, he is.
He
So that's who our next guest will be. And again, we thank you, Craig. And Pepper,
thank you, Craig.
What do you say? Pepper can only do that about the subscribe. How do you do it, Pepper?
Okay, so this is the deal, y'all. We need subscribers. So please subscribe. It is free. So don't say, y'all charging. We're not charging yet because we're trying to get the subscription up. So please subscribe to Four Corners with Pepper Thomas. It is on YouTube, and share with everyone. Please like the videos. If you don't get a chance to look at all the videos, like all of them, come back and watch them later. Yes. And please leave a comment because that helps the algorithm to speed up and to get out there, and people will come and join us. But yeah, we do this twice a month, and we would like for you to be a part of this. And you never know who's going to drop through.
And I have to say this. We thank Pepper for being a part of this because she has her own show that is phenomenal. You have to see it.
Yes, it is.
Pepper Thomas on Monday nights. She has a lot of great artists. And please subscribe to Pepper Thomas. That is a great show. And then she's also live on Saturday afternoons, broadcasting right from the radio station. And again, we thank her for being a part of this with it. And then we also, wishing you a safe trip. She's going to be away from us this month. Mark, what are we going to do, man?
I think we should put a tag, put one of them tags on her luggage so we'll know where she's at.
Oh no, you won't!
Air tag. We'll put an air tag. I think we'll have something delivered to you. Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Oh, sorry.
Air tag your bag. We'll air tag your bag.
I can't wait. I'm gonna be like, I can't wait. It's overdue. It is much needed. So I'm going on vacation, and I'm gonna be woo.
Lucky you.
Woo! I'm so.
I used to know what that was.
I haven't known what it was in so long that I cannot wait. I'm just gonna be like, so y'all better hope I come back.
Oh Lord. We better order those things now, Mark.
Yeah, right. Air tag everything.
It ain't gonna happen. Y'all might think y'all know where I'm going, but you ain't gonna know where I'm going.
We have friends everywhere. On this planet.
And I have more friends than you have.
You do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
They could be like, girl, let me tell you this. I'll be like, who did it? Mark. Look, Mark doing it. Thank you, guys.
Oh, Lord.
Thanks.
See you next month.
Thank you.
And
Next
thank
month,
you
we'll
again,
see you.
Greg, for stopping by. And you are always welcome. The door's always open.
Thank you
want to
very
come back
much.
to talk and tell us some
Absolutely.
information. Tell us some good stuff.
Yeah,
We
will
always
do.
open. Yes.
Will
Yes.
do.
So everyone, thank you guys for joining us, and we
Thanks.
will see you on next month. Have a safe week, and thank you for joining Four Corners. Bye.
If you want that inspirational, turn your radios. Sit back, relax, catch the vibe, have fun tonight on the Four Corner Show. You gotta sit back, relax, catch the vibe, have fun tonight on the Four Corner Show. If you want that golden inspirational, then turn your radio to the Four Corner Show. Hot and spicy topics coming to the show. So let's get personal on the Four Corner Show. Relax, catch the vibe, have fun tonight on the Four Corner Show. You gotta sit back, relax, catch the vibe, have fun tonight on the Four Corner Show. If you want that inspirational, then turn your radio